The NHL Draft grades are in, and the San Jose Sharks looks like the ace things.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, caretaker at the Reef, also the co-host of Locked On NHL. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Proudly part of the Locked On Network, we cover your team every day. If you want to be an everydayer, all you have to do is just follow wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube as well. And today we're going to be examining some of the draft grades out there as we're past the draft right now. We're going to see what some of the experts think as we look at 6 different websites and view what they thought of the San Jose Sharks draft. So before we get to that, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. All right, before we get to the draft, of course, back home, great time in LA. Want to thank you guys, of course, for the support. Just an outstanding weekend from support from you guys, just all the views, all the downloads, everything like that. Special thank you to, people who donated for me to kind of help cover the expenses while I was there. With these trips and stuff, like this is out of pocket for me. Like anytime I go into the draft and stuff like that, all out of pocket expenses. You guys just blown away by your support again, not only financially, but just the all the great messages I received from you guys. And again, the views and the downloads and everything like that, just absolutely blown away. So without further ado, let's get back to our mediocre content that we try to provide here at Locked On Sharks. So we're going to be looking at some of, reputable sources, right? This isn't just Bob's, poor Bob, Bob's, draft grades web.com type of thing. I bet that domain's out there. Somebody has it. But anyway, this isn't just going to be like Bob's draftgrades.com. Like we're looking at reputable sources, some people who have been on the show, like we're trying to see what the experts think. Because I know there's like a small segment of Sharks fans, maybe it's just a very loud segment, who did not like the Sharks draft class, which I do find a little head scratching, right? Yes, maybe the Sharks didn't find a right-handed defenseman in the draft. I hear that, but it's, I think Mike Grier kind of deserves the benefit of the doubt, especially when you look at the way he's drafted in the past couple seasons with the Sharks and how these prospects are starting to kind of come into form. And to this draft was kind of meh, to be honest. So I do like that Mike Grier's approach of just swing for upside in a draft class that is a little kind of maybe not up to standard compared to some of the other drafts. So let's get into some of the draft grades here. So we have Rachel Dory from ESPN. She graded the Sharks as an A. She had them 4th in her rankings. So at least she had the Islanders first with an A+, and like the Islanders guys like freaking knocked this draft out of the class. Just the first 3 picks alone. Like you walked away with 3 guys who could have all been potential top 10 picks, including the best player in the draft, and Matthew Schaefer. Like the Islanders killed this draft. The Boston Bruins at number 2, the Carolina Hurricanes at number 3, and then your San Jose Sharks grade A at number 4. The Ducks next at A-, the Flames at A-, the Red Wings at A-, the Preds A-, the Flyers A-, so on and so forth. But she goes to say, anytime you have the best forward, Michael Misa, the best goalie, Joshua Ravensbergen, in the draft, you're going to be happy. There's a real chance the Sharks came away with a starting goalie, an elite forward who scores over a point per game. That alone would find them graded with at least a B+. Add in Simon Wang, the highest drafted Chinese-born player in NHL history, with elite skating ability and a 6'6" frame. The Sharks bolstered every area of their prospect pool. I thought Blake Fiddler would have been a more sound selection at number 33, but the Sharks like Wang's raw ability, try not to giggle, and upside, which is a decision I can get behind. If Wang hits, he's going to be an impactful defender in the NHL that teams wish they'd have drafted. Getting Cole McKinney at 53 was a great value as well. McKinney's got more offense to give it at a minimum. He'll be a bottom six player who's reliable defensively and on the penalty kill. When all is said and done, there's a real chance the Sharks get 4 players from this draft, including a dual threat two-way center is going to make the Sharks a matchup nightmare for teams over the next decade. So, Rachel, she hears you, right? I assume Blake Fiddler would have been the pick there too, but Wang's upside, I think, is just too much for the Sharks to pass up there. And again, you're drafting for upside, not for what the player is right now. And they feel like Simon Wang has a massive runway here for them. And yes, he's not on the right side and Blake Fiddler's on the right side. I get it, but Wang's a better skater and he's bigger than Blake Fiddler, which is hard to say for a guy who's 6'4", 200 and whatever pounds Blake Fiddler is. Simon Wang is bigger and he's a better skater than they think that those tools they can work with. So yes, so Rachel, she hears you. She believes she says she would have gone the Fiddler, but again, feels like the Simon Wang, the upside with Wang is too hard to pass up. So our good friend Stephen Ellis, who I hung out with at the draft, actually bothered too much probably. Sorry, Stephen. He had number 1, he had the Islanders again with an A+. Number 2, he had the Flyers with an A+. Number 3, your San Jose Sharks with an A+ grade. And then he has the Blackhawks with an A, Preds with an A at number 5. Calgary Flames A- at 7, Flames A- at 6, Detroit Red Wings at 7 with an A- at number 8, the Pittsburgh Penguins with an A-, number 9, Seattle Kraken with an A-, number 10, the Columbus Blue Jackets with an A-. So as for the San Jose Sharks, Steven goes on to say, hard to go wrong with the top forward and perceived best goaltender. Cole McKinney isn't a bad pick either. I'm not convinced he's going to produce in the NHL, but he's a solid pickup at 53. The real draw here is Misa, who already looks like a future NHL star. Ravensbergen will either become a perfect tandem piece with Yaroslav Askarov, become a high-value trade chip. Wang is one of my favorite defenders because he's raw, but the skating and size are absolute killers. I think their top 4 picks can all become impact players. So did talk to Steven a little bit during the draft. I know Ravensbergen wasn't his number 1 goalie. It was his number 2 goalie, but he did kind of say with the Sharks and what they want, kind of look for in goalies. He totally gets that pick at number 30 for San Jose. Again, kind of as I talked to Steven throughout, but he loved what the Sharks did in this draft. And then as after the Simon Wang pick, he was ecstatic. He loves Simon Wang. He loves his potential. Steven was on this show talking, he did the profile for Simon Wang, and for San Jose getting him at number 33. He thinks that there's just so much. Yes, it's raw, but just the tools and foundation to work with there are a huge reason why he got drafted where he did. And while there's concerns about maybe Wang won't be able to produce offensively, if you want a shutdown defensive force, it sounds like that's what Wang's going to eventually be for San Jose. And again, Steven feels like the Sharks knocked this one out of the park. And again, getting Misa doesn't really hurt adding him to what the Sharks have already. So we're going to look at some other people, including what Scott Wheeler from The Athletic thought about, and our good friend Chris Peters. So we're going to kind of dig into what some of their draft profile or what some of their draft grades here in just 1 second. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're into baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game more exciting. you're already following the action. Why not make it a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in touch on the game with your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. Right now, just the Giants can't score any runs, and they just lost a lot of games to the White Sox and the Marlins. So maybe you're buying the dip right now with the Giants a little bit, or at least take the under on runs with the Giants. You're probably going to have a good day with that. So if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can get $5. Just bet $5, and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, before we continue with some of the draft grades, do of course want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Again, proudly part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. Just because the draft's over doesn't mean that there's going to be more content coming. We have free agency that starts on Tuesday, so we'll have you. Whatever happens on Tuesday, as Mike Greer tries to spend $25 million or whatever he's got to spend to hit the cap floor, we'll got you covered there. And then we're going to dig deeper into some of these draft, these new Sharks prospects as we get throughout the summer. So make sure you follow along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. All right, let's view what Scott Wheeler of The Athletic has to say. So he did winner. So he has kind of 4 rankings. So his winners, teams I believe won out in their competition by consistently hitting where they selected. Overtime winners, teams I believe that did well where they were selected, even if they may not have picked the exact players I would have. Overtime losers, teams I believe have done better but might in time get passing grades. And losers, teams that he believes underperform relative to where they select. So that kind of gives on a curve, bending, that way if teams don't have as many draft picks, et cetera, they can still kind of do well for their draft position, right? So winners, he has the New York Islanders, who, again, just like absolutely killed it in this draft. He has the Calgary Flames also as a winner. He has number 3, the San Jose Sharks. And here's what he put. I think Michael Misa is going to be a top of the lineup star in the league and gives Sharks arguably 3 of the best under 20 or 3 of the 10 best under 21 forwards in the game with Macklin, Celebrini, and Will Smith. Well, I thought they'd take a defenseman with their second first. Joshua Ravensbergen belonged in that range and gives them a second high-end young goalie with Yaroslav Askarov. Then they kicked off day 2 by taking a defenseman in Simon Wang, who has a ton of untapped potential and is already a high-end skater at nearly 6'6". Wang is one of the most interesting prospects and stories in the draft and becomes the highest drafted China-born player in NHL history. If he makes it, he's already signed in talent agency WME in China and could become one of the first major team sport athletes since Yao Ming. His career is bigger than him for the growth of Chinese hockey. Sharks fans are going to love cheering him on. I like the Cole McKinney selection at 53 as well. McKinney's a strongly built center who excels in the faceoff circle, cares about detail, and checking off the puck. Was productive at the NTDP team that didn't have a star or a first-round pick, and I think is a very clear path to becoming a 3C for them behind Celebrini with one of Misa Smith. Overager Zach Sharp showed enough in the NCAA championship, Western Michigan University Broncos to warrant getting drafted, where he did as well. I've got a ton of time for small but consistent in work ethic and impact. Richard Gallant, even if it's a long shot. The only picks that left me scratching my head was Teddy Milchern in the 3rd round. I didn't view him as a draft pick. Otherwise, I thought they did really well. So, Wheeler really is high, even if you read his first round draft grade. Like, he's very high on Misa, especially the Misa Smith Celebrini combo, and just having those 3 guys that you can basically, especially in big time moments, like you can have one of those guys on the ice at, basically at any time type of scenario. Or you could always, the potential nuclear option of going Misa on the left wing, Celebrini on the right, or Celebrini in the center, and Smith on the right wing. Like, the potential of doing that at some point. Oh my goodness. Just think about that for a little bit. But Wheeler, I know there was some talk of of Deone or potentially Frondell or or Porter Martone at 2. But, reading some of the other stuff that Wheeler wrote feels like Sharks made the right choice at going with Misa at number 2. And whatever the smokescreen game was for Mike Grier to kind of pull this off, we'll never know. But in the long run, they made the right choice here. So looking at our good friend Chris Peters, of Flow Hockey, he gave the Sharks a A here. So Sharks couldn't really go wrong at number 2, and they got the most explosive forward in the class by selecting Misa. They also added potential goalie of the future in Joshua Ravensbergen, who at number 30 provides better overall value as a potential number 1 than some of the other options there. Again, the draft is all about value. The Sharks made a big bet on upside with Simon Wang, who is 6'6" and just figuring out how he needs to play at his size, but has tremendous mobility and some skill. Cole McKinney was my number 32 on my list, and the Sharks got him at number 53. And I think he'll be a legit two-way center for them down the road. Those first 4 picks alone are enough to put them on the A train, as I think they've got to be sensing things are coming together for the future of the club as they build more around Macklin Celebrini. Picking, again, if you get 4 draft picks out of your, four draft picks out of a class to contribute, that's a huge win. And that does even, if you get someone else in the later rounds to pop. And yes, those were all top 2 round picks, but I think he makes a really great point there about the Ravensbergen pick, right? Would you rather have a potential goalie of the future or a potential, a goalie that you can pair with Askarov, right? Than a potential 4 or 5 defenseman. And yes, the Sharks do need more right-handed defensemen there, but I think with the way that they're building this and projecting this out, that might be a route where you maybe lean a little bit more on via free agency or via trades to try to get that done. But, I think, Ravensbergen, there's a lot to work with there, and the same thing with Wang. There's a lot to work with both those picks there. So we're going to look at the score and Bleacher Report here and kind of see how they have the Sharks draft rankings and what they what they thought of them. So we'll get to that in just 1 second. All right, before we continue, I do want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NHL podcast. There is no off season. We still got you covered here at Locked On, bringing the daily league-wide stories that matter most with local coverage you love from Locked On. Find Locked On NHL on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, so switching over to the score. So this was by Kyle Cushman of the Score. He gave the San Jose Sharks an A. I think they were the only team in the Pacific. Yeah, they were the only team in the Pacific Division to get an A. He's a little bit of a tough grader compared to some of the other ones. So the Oilers got a D. Again, they didn't have a lot of ammo there, but still. He writes, the Sharks didn't overthink the second overall pick and landed another superb offensive piece who joins Macklin Celebrini and Will Smith as part of the franchise's core. Misa's high-end motor, speed, and obvious offensive talent are incredibly exciting to imagine alongside Celebrini in particular. Ravensbergen is a fascinating pick considering San Jose acquired top goaltender prospect Yaroslav Askarov last summer. Meanwhile, Wang is one of the best stories in the draft. He was born and raised in China before moving to Canada. Pursue his hockey dreams at 12 years old. He's huge at 6'6" and can skate. Interesting. He has Misa moving to the wing, but still, I'm still very much, and I think Misa is your 2C and Smith is the wing moves to the wing because I do think that Misa's details, especially defensively, are just a little bit better than Will Smith. And while Will Smith played very well and got much better, I just think that Misa's floor with that is already, I think, a little bit higher than Smith's. And Will Smith was known for more of his creating offensively. That was always his game. Again, like you're if Smith wins it, then either way, again, that flexibility between the players here of what celebrating Smith and Misa all bring to the table, and just gives you plenty of options. So interesting to kind of look at like who the other teams that got A's from him. Bruins got an A minus. The Canadians got an A minus, even though like they didn't have a first round pick after trading for Noah Dobson. Looking, still kind of going through. Wow, he gave the Blackhawks a C minus for the Avs because they only had like 3 picks, but yeah, he's a tough grader, man. The Islanders got an A plus because what they did. So yeah, there's only 3 teams that got A's. So tough grader from Kyle Cushman. But hey, I'll take it. I'll take it for San Jose. So finally looking at the Bleacher Report. So this is from Nicholas Nathanson. So he also gave the Sharks an A. Was it A or A plus? Sorry, excuse me. The Sharks scored the draft's best all-around player in Michael Misa. Misa finished with 134 points in 65 OHL games this past season, the most among any player in all major junior leagues. Relentless motor with a game IQ that is well beyond his 18 years of age. There's some stick skills and playmaking abilities, making him a tantalizing NHL prospect. Misa should be able to contribute immediately to the Sharks alongside last year's top pick, Macklin Celebrini. So, yeah, he also he thought very highly of the Sharks grade there. Maybe I didn't do enough good job of kind of hyping up Misa going into the draft. But like, yeah, man, Michael Misa is going to be really good, right? Like walking away with Misa and then Ravensbergen, and if Simon Wang becomes anywhere close to what we think Simon Wang potentially could be, like the Sharks are going to be walking away feeling really great about the pieces. And I think especially Wang in particular next season with another kind of like a full season in the O under his belt, like I think we're going to be feeling much differently about Wang and where his potential lies. Again, I don't expect him to be a massive point producer. Like don't expect like the Sam Dickinson a bajillion points. That's just not Wang's game. But I do think he is going to be in a good position. I think he's going to be one of those guys where the growth that we see from Wang now to like 2 years from now, I just think that runway, there's a lot there. And for a guy who's still 17 years old, like there's a ton of potential there. So, and the Ravensbergen pick, like a lot of people called that, like a lot of people wanted the Sharks to do that. I was a little hesitant on it, even kind of leading up to the draft, but I do like the more I kind of think about it and wrap my head around it, and especially with the way the NHL is trending, right? We're going to be having an 84 game schedule here really soon. Like you need 2 goalies who can play 40 to 45 games at any given time. And right, like we see how teams are like thirsty for goaltending, right? Teams are willing to give, got goaltenders who we, maybe don't think that are super great. They're willing to pay an exorbitant amount for guys to come in and maybe try to solve their issues. And I think maybe Mike Greer, hopefully, I think he realized kind of where the direction of goaltending is going, and rather just keep stocking up on it, right? Like you just don't have enough. You can never have enough goalies, right? And like the more I think about it, the more I really like it, and especially that like. Would you rather have projected the best goalie in the draft, who might be like your 1B of the future? Would you rather have a 4th or 5th defenseman? And I think the Sharks thought hard about it and said, you know what, let's just take the goalie right now, and we can feel like we can find more defensemen elsewhere. And even Simon Wang, right? Do I think he's going to be a number one defenseman? Probably not. But I think there's a lot of intrigue there, and there's a lot of potential for him to be a kind of shutdown matchup nightmare type of player, a guy you can, you need to protect a lead in the last 2 minutes of a game. The thing the Sharks struggled with last year, you need to protect a lead. Simon Wang can get out there and help shut things down, right? Especially the way Dickinson's kind of his projection and what we're expecting from Dickinson. Wang, you got Mook Madulin, who was playing well last year. Like, there, you see what Mike Grier is trying to kind of build towards and what he's looking forward. So I get it. If you're like, the Sharks should have taken Fiddler, et cetera, et cetera. But I feel like with these top 4 picks here, like, the Sharks are going to have 4 guys who all have a legitimate chance to make the NHL. And then if you get any of the other guys to pop, right, that's a massive, massive win for you. So we're going to put a pin in the draft. We'll be back to to continue to kind of go through it later on, but we got free agency coming up, so we're going to be kind of shifting gears towards that. Looking at, we'll be back tomorrow to kind of get you ready for free agency, kind of get caught up on all the news and notes, and look at who might be potentially out there. Then we'll, of course, on Tuesday we'll have, we'll break down whatever happens for the Sharks and whoever they sign, as they again have all the cap money, cap space in the world. They have to sign players, so. We'll see what Mike Grier, what he's got cooking here, because got to do something, got to spend that money somewhere. So we'll be back tomorrow. So make sure you're following along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. Follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at My Fry Hole. Till tomorrow. Bye, friends.